Good afternoon, everybody. We'd like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting for November 17th, 2020. Remind everybody, please silence your electronic devices and mute your microphones. Now, I'm going to move on to public hearings, starting with P86. Madam Clerk, do we have proof for item P86?
Yes, Chairman. Item P86 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 28th, 2020.
Thank you. I'm Ms. Hernandez.
Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, this item is the adoption hearing on this item. So today we're going to ask you to adopt the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment. I'm going to read the item title: an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to future land use maps, map 2-15 and sheet 19, changing from IL Industrial Light to PD Plan Development on approximately 65 acres of real property located on the south side of State Road 54 north of Trinity Boulevard at the intersection of Corporate Center Drive, and the text amendment creating sub-area policy 7.1.55 Trinity Corporate Center, and a map amendment to the future land use map 2-9, adding sub-area map 2-9 parens 55 Trinity Corporate Center, providing for repeal or severability and an effective date. Again, this is the adoption hearing. So we ask that you adopt the comprehensive plan amendment.
Thank you. Any questions so far? See none. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment via WebEx, emails?
Yes,
We do.
we do have, for WebEx, we have 3 people that are in the queue. First person is Jenna Moran.
Okay. Good afternoon, and name and address for the record.
They're signed up for P91, not P86.
I'm so sorry. That is correct.
Okay. Do we have anybody signed up for P86 or anybody at the kiosk for 86? 86?
There's no one at the kiosk for
Nobody at the kiosk either? Okay. Back to the board.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Oakley, a second by Commissioner Mariano. This is an ordinance, so roll call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. P87.
P87 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 21st, 2020.
Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. On this item, this is the first reading of Land Development Code Amendment 45. So I'm going to read the item title. And today there's no action required. Just please take public comment on this item. So this is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Chapter 300 Procedures, Table 303-5, required public hearings for development approval applications. Table 304-1, required public notice for development approval applications. Section 305, Neighborhood Meeting. Section 306, Neighborhood Notice. Chapter 400, Permit Types and Applications. Section 402.3, Conditional Uses. Section 402.4, Special Exceptions. Section 402.5, Miscellaneous Uses, creating new section. 402.5.d, Administrative Use Permits for the sale of alcoholic beverages. Section 406.5.i, Right-of-Way Use Permits, Bond Requirements. Chapter 500, Zoning. Section 503, AC Agricultural District. Section 511, RMH Mobile Home District. Section 517, R4 High Density Residential District. Section 522, Master Plan Unit Development District. Section 521, C1 Neighborhood Commercial District. Section 526, C2 General Commercial District. Section 528, I1 Light Industrial Park District. Section 529, I2 General Industrial Park District. Section 530 Supplemental Regulations, striking and reserving Section 530.14, applicability of this code to the sale of alcoholic beverages. Section 530.15, fraternal lodges and social and recreational clubs. Chapter 700 Subdivision and Planning Standards. Chapter 900 Development Standards. Section 901.1 Transportation Corridor Spacing. Section 901.2 Transportation Corridor Management. Section 902.5.2 Landscaping and Buffering. Chapter 1000 Miscellaneous Structure Regulations. Section 1003 Gates, Fences, and Walls. Chapter 1100 Special Development Standards. Section 1101 Vehicle Dealerships. Section 1102 Large-Scale Commercial Design Standards. Section 1105 Self-Storage Facilities. Design Standards, Section 1200 Nonconformities, Appendix A Definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into Land Development Code, and an effective date. So I'm going to go over the general highlights of this item. This item, I do want to say that it was presented to, if someone can bring up the PowerPoint, I'm sorry. It was presented to the horizontal roundtable and interested parties meeting in their October meeting. It also went to the local planning agency, and it was found consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommended approval to the Board of County Commissioners. Major highlights are the sale of alcoholic beverages moves from conditional use required to permitted principal use for properties that are zone C1, C2, C3, and I1, which is something that the Board of County Commissioners has been asking us to do for quite some time now, subject to the issuance of administrative use permit for the sale of alcoholic beverages. There's a creation of section 402.5.d, which is the administrative use permit for the sale of alcoholic beverages. So all alcoholic beverage standards go into 402.5.d. They're moved from spread throughout the land development code and in 530.14 into 402.5.d. Waivers of the specific distance of 1,000 feet from a place of religious worship, a county park, and or a pre-K through 12 grade public or private school are decided by the Planning Commission. So those will no longer come to the Board of County Commissioners. Those go to the Planning Commission. Also, registration requirements for mobile food operations are removed. With the 2020 legislative session, those were preempted to the state, so the county cannot require registration. So that was changed. Maintenance guarantee was moved from 1 year to 36 months for right-of-way bond requirements. That's current practice. Another highlight is allowance of a setback reduction to no less than 5 feet for R4 high-density residential district subdivisions. What you're going to see with that is that some people are opting to do MPUDs where they are providing R4 lots, which is 60 by 100, 6,000 square foot lots, but for the fact that they have to meet a 7.5 foot side setback. There are provisions in the Land Development Code 902.2K2B that provide requirements for drainage, and so that we made that change. Lot and area setbacks for fraternal lodges and social and recreational clubs proposed in PO2, C1, C2, and areas with those designations within an MPUD don't have to meet the minimum 20,000 square foot lot area. We're finding that those are being placed within strip centers, so it doesn't make sense to have to meet a 20,000 square foot minimum lot area in commercial and professional office districts when the lot areas for those districts are smaller than 20,000 square feet. Additionally, there's this 50-foot setback requirement for all property lines in commercial districts and office districts. It makes no sense. So it does make sense when they go for conditional use in agricultural districts, doesn't make sense in commercial districts. So we're making those changes. And then the last highlight is that 1101 vehicle dealerships, we're striking that statement that states that locations that cannot meet the 75-foot buffer cannot be used. So basically by having that statement, it doesn't allow anyone to do an alternative standard or a variance. It just basically, this opens it up for the allowance of an alternative standard to reduce the setback or that buffer area of 75 feet. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer the questions. And again, it's please accept public comment today on this item. And the actual adoption is on December 8th at 1:30 in Newport Richey. Yes, Commissioner.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
You called on me.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
apologize.
you're fine.
Okay, so Chapter 900 Development Standards, Landscape and Buffering, Vehicle Use Area and Landscaping. So this adds. Can you tell me what the changes?
Yeah, absolutely. So the changes that currently throughout that section in the Land Development Code, it uses and or, except that section only uses the word and. So we're just adding or to it, so that they don't have to do all those things. They could do or.
You mean
It's
they
just
can put a shade tree or ground cover?
Right, but
They can put
those are just
grass?
for the landscape areas. So the vehicle use areas. This is not the perimeter. This is the vehicle use areas inside of the parcel.
But we're saying grass is okay?
Yeah, so it's or.
No shade?
So it could be and or. So like the rest of the code says and or, except that this section doesn't say and
That's
or.
because I don't know why we would just have grass. That doesn't do anything for aesthetic qualities. Because they're not going to put anything but grass.
We can strike that change.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
Yeah. I could see, palm trees are allowed, right?
Yes, it's just trees.
So I could see maybe not wanting to put an oak tree inside your parking lot. Yeah, you don't want that stuff going on the cars, whatever. But I think palm trees are fine and they break up that
Yeah,
big
these are the
expanse.
terminal islands, you know, at the terminal
So,
islands.
I mean, you look at, I'm sorry, Mr. Kia, but you look at that Kia parking lot, and that's not a pretty thing. And Newport Richie's really having a problem with trying to make some changes there. So I think we just, I think there has to be something, and palm trees will fit the bill without, birds don't go in palm trees and they don't drop stuff. I mean, no, unless you're using the kind that royal palms, which none of them would use. Okay, my next question. Chapter 900 Development Standards, Section 905.2, point D, point 2A, whatever, clarifies that one tree is required for lots that are 6,000 square feet or in lot areas or less.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of the preserve
Yeah, so in
that
this
has no
case,
trees.
in this case, a lot, so here's the problem, and maybe I need to just clarify that. Right now, the table says less than 6,000 square feet, so it doesn't tell you what you need for a 6,000 square foot lot. So we're just changing the language, 6,000 and less.
Okay, so, but does it require a tree in the front?
One tree on the piece of property.
So I have a problem with that because people put a tree in the back
Mhm.
and then a few months later it's gone. And if you drive down some of these neighborhoods that have no trees, they look ghetto. I'm sorry. I try to think of a softer word, but I think we need to require a tree in the front.
Okay, so this is just a this is a glitch. This part here, I believe that our team is working on the landscape ordinance, and I would have them meet with you to discuss the changes that they're being proposed, and so you could discuss that. This is just a glitch that we're bringing forward.
Okay.
So right now, it doesn't tell us how many trees are required for a 6,000 square foot lot. So we're just including 6,000 and less, not less than 6,000.
All right.
It's
And
just a-
I would.
It's just a glitch.
During this time and when we're working on the next fix, I encourage you to take a look and drive down neighborhoods that have no tree requirements and go through the ones that do and notice the difference in the values of the homes in the different neighborhoods. Okay, then on the car dealerships with the 75-foot,
Yes.
so I'm in favor of that because that 75-foot was put in place when the car dealerships were coming in Wesley Chapel.
Yes.
And there were existing neighborhoods and they didn't want the sound and the light. And I was on the ordinance review committee when we were working on this. But we do need to require some kind of opacity.
Right,
there.
and that's part of that change that's being done to the landscape ordinance that is being worked on with a team right now, including the landscape architects and arborists, and we can provide a primer for that.
One of my beefs about our used car lots that are popping up overnight is the amount of cars that are parked on a small site. And so we're not fixing that in here.
We're not.
anywhere. And when are we fixing that? And how are we fixing that?
We can discuss fixing that, but we're not fixing that, nor do I know that we have any plans in fixing that right now.
Terry? I'm going to try and give you a video of one I took of one in Holiday. But are you not working on that somewhere?
Can you repeat the question, Commissioner?
Some of these used car lots, most of whom are not permitted uses where they are, have more cars in them than parking spaces. And they're parking them in the driveways and in the open space, and there's no place for a customer to park. They're also repairing them outside in the vehicle spaces outside. So isn't there some kind of standard that like a car dealership should have X amount of space and X amount of cars per lot? And
Well, I think the answer is the answer belongs to the question, are they following their site plan? Is their site programmed to do the work that they're doing? And if they're over parked, that means they're not following the available parking spaces that are planned for that site. So one might consider it a site plan violation at that point.
So,
But there's already code in place that requires new development or any development really to have a site plan approved.
yeah, and so
For
here's
their
my beef again. Who
property.
enforces that site plan rule
I believe
besides
that would be,
Commissioner Starkey?
I believe that would be code enforcement.
And
Code-
man, Jack,
code
your,
enforcement.
your district is getting full of them too.
Code enforcement,
Code enforcement.
right.
I just think we need to look at some standards. And I don't know how and where we start that dialogue. I brought it up here before, but I would really like to look at some standards because I get so many complaints about what's going on. And it's not fair to the car dealerships who are following, the big ones that are following the rules. And these fly-by-night ones come in. And they've been, this Gigi's has been operating for a couple of years now, and it's just totally denigrated the neighborhood.
So the issue is, a site planning issue, one of capacity for the parking lot. The parking lot's going to be programmed for X amount of parking spaces, and if they're putting more cars, whether it's inventory or not inventory parking, if they're putting too many cars in place than what the parking lot would allow, then it's going beyond what the site plan approved or what's available for that property. So they're trying to fit too much on it, which makes it a site planning violation.
Right. And I'm going to send one, what's the email that I sent to you to show a video? Because I think it's different than what it used to be. What? Oh, it's Jordan? Okay. Okay. And other people may have questions, but as soon as this downloads, I'm going to send it up so you can see Gigi's auto.
Yes, I think I've seen the video, but benefit for everyone else.
Okay. Well, I hope we can do something. I hope others feel the way I do.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Mariano?
Just a quick question to kind of follow up on Commissioner
Please,
Starkey.
go ahead.
Terry, are we having any trouble with enforcement? Are we doing enforcement?
Commissioner, I'm the Planning and Development Director. I don't do enforcement,
That might not be the right one to
Okay.
say.
but
no,
perhaps the
not
actor
that
can
one.
speak to it.
Let's, if we could, get that, either that mic turned up on the podium a little bit, or we'll have to pull that mic up a little bit, because I don't know how it's resonating at home.
Don't look at the first one I sent you. That's just the ground. Just throw that one out.
We can hear you fine over here, Commissioner Moore.
Okay, good to hear.
Commissioner Mariano's question.
Get the pun.
Code enforcement.
Terry mentioned the site plans that are out there that have certain rules and requirements to what they're allowed to put cars in. Commissioner Starkey is asking about, doesn't look like they're enforcing it, and I'm just asking, are we having enforcement issues? Are we enforcing the code or not enforcing the code in this?
Commissioner Mariano, we are enforcing the codes to the best of our ability. And one of the things that also is important to note is we do have some of these dealerships that have been grandfathered in. They were there prior to codes going into place. But if there's a specific one, Commissioner Starkey, that you're interested in, I did take a tour with the team to look at some of those. And those that we can do something, we've been in touch with them. And as you know, for the past few months, we've been on the whole hiatus with issuing citations, but we've now got approval from the county attorney's office to go on and do it. And I will, again, go out with staff and look at any specific ones that come up and do the research to see if it's grandfathered in or if it's one that we need to take to the next level of enforcement.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick, Commissioner Oakley, anything? No? Okay. All right.
I sent the video. I
Commissioner
hope that you
Starkey.
can get it.
Oh, we have
It's not too big.
do you have a video?
The second one.
It's going to take us a couple minutes to set it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions in the meantime? No, there's no action that needs to be taken today. But I do need to, why don't I go ahead with public comment and see if there's any public comment while we're waiting for the video to load. Is there anybody on WebEx, or was there any emails in reference to this item?
No one is at the WebEx for this item.
Anybody at the kiosk in reference to this item in particular?
No one is at the kiosk.
All right, thank you. Well, it's a beautiful day out at the same time, isn't it? It's
Commissioner,
skies today.
the video you sent, Commissioner, is only playing like a 2-second snippet of sound.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first one is not the right one. It's the second one. I don't care about the sound. I just care about what you could see.
So if on the second video, if you could load that.
Understood. Still waiting for it to come through.
Thank you. But it is a beautiful day out, isn't it? Skies are blue. Nice and cool out today. Feels like winter here in Florida. Yes.
Still having hurricanes.
Well, I'm okay if we want to move forward with this. And when the video.
There's no action to be taken.
Yeah, we can wait a second. He's loading it now, Commissioner Starkey.
Okay, I'm sorry for asking a stupid question. What's mail? It says use mail drop. So how do I use mail?
File's too large.
That is correct. The file is too large to be sent.
Too large.
Okay.
Okay. All right, great. So, Ms. Hernandez, let's move on to P88, please.
P88 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on November 1st, 2020.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Nikki Spiritos, County Attorney's Office. This is ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 2 of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, creating Section 2-134 relating to the acquisition of real property and appraisals. Commissioners, this ordinance provides clarification of the law by recognizing the county's right to opt out of the public records exemption by not obtaining a second appraisal for purchases in excess of $500,000. It also allows the county to use its discretion in not obtaining an appraisal. Any questions?
Questions, comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll take public comment at this time. Is there anybody signed up via WebEx, or do we have any emails to be read into the record?
I have a question.
Okay. Well, can I just let me continue on with this part right now since I already called for
Signed up
public
for
comment?
WebEx for P88 or emails.
Anybody at the kiosk?
No one is at the kiosk.
Commissioner Starkey?
I just, in what instances do we not care if we get an appraisal or not? What qualifies for a no appraisal purchase?
So sometimes we'll have a number of appraisals in a certain neighborhood for eminent domain, for example, advanced acquisition, and then we will seek to acquire an additional parcel from a nearby similarly situated property. And we already have the expertise concerning the value of the properties in that area at that time. And we can save months of time and thousands of dollars in those situations.
Okay, just wanted that clarified.
Yeah.
for
Mr. Chairman,
everybody.
Commissioner Mariano?
I was okay with it till you just said that. So we can take the amount from 100,000 to 500,000. And the amount of those easements, I would think most of them would be under 100 anyway, wouldn't they?
I'm not sure I understand the question, sir.
Most of the transactions for an easement or that are similar in an area, those would be smaller amounts of money, generally speaking?
Correct. When it comes to easements, are you talking about eminent domain or otherwise?
Eminent domain, I'm sorry.
Okay, so yes, when it comes to acquiring easements, they're generally lower in value. Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm trying to think of how important this is to go from 100 to 500. It sounds like a huge jump, and I'm not sure if it.
So typically, we don't have purchases of that amount unless it's fee simple acquisition.
Mhm.
So for a fee simple acquisition where the contract is $500,000 or more, if we elect to keep an appraisal confidential, which we wouldn't do for eminent domain,
Okay.
the law requires us to obtain a second appraisal. But most of the time, when we do obtain appraisals, we do share them with the seller. So there's no need to incur the additional cost in order to exercise that exemption option.
Okay. Move approval?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez, we're moving on. Now we proceed with the procedures for rezonings. Mr. County Attorney, please review the procedures for rezonings.
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman. There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
Thank you, Mr. Steinsteiner. Today we have 7 public hearings on the consent agenda. These items will be approved with one vote without a presentation unless there is someone hearing an objection. Let's go ahead and read proof for all of them if we could, Madam Clerk. Get that out of the way.
Item P89 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 21st, 2020. Item P90 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 21st, 2020. Item P91 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 14th, 2020. Item P92 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 21st, 2020. Item P93 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 21st, 2020. Item P94 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on September 30th, 2020. Item P95 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 7th, 2020. Item P96 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 7th, 2020. Item P97 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 7th, 2020. And item P98 was published in the Tampa Bay Times on October 21st, 2020.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we also, if you're pre-registered to speak, or if you're at the kiosk, I will need you to be sworn in. So at this time, let's go ahead and swear everybody in for all items. So if you're at the kiosk, please rise, raise your right hand. If you're at home, do the same. Madam Clerk.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Sure you all said aye, right? Okay, beautiful. Okay, Ms. Hernandez, it is your show.
Thank you. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development, P89 is PDD 217503 in the name of Chelsea Acquisition LLC, Chelsea Acquisition 2 LLC. It's a change in zoning from an R4 high-density residential district and an C1 neighborhood commercial district to an MF2 multiple family medium density high-density district rather. The applicant has requested a continuance to the January 26th, 2021 BCC meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Entertain that motion.
Move to continue?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you.
P90 is PDD 21 CU08, conditional use, Adventist Health Systems, Sunbelt Health Corporation, a multiple family dwellings in a C2 conditional use. The applicant has requested a continuance to the January 12th, 2021 BCC meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Entertain a motion.
Move from continuance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed,
Aye.
same sign, motion passes. It's continued. Okay.
Following item is P91. I believe that you may have some folks who are on WebEx, so I believe we're removing that from consent.
Okay, let's just confirm that. We do have people on WebEx or at the kiosk? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and pull P91, let's move to P92.
PDD 217502, it's a zoning amendment, First Pasco Service Corporation, change in zoning from an I-1 Light Industrial Park District to a C2 General Commercial District. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Anybody signed up via WebEx, email, or at the kiosk in reference to P92 that would like to speak? Madam Clerk, anybody?
There is no one signed on the WebEx.
Okay, anybody at the kiosk on P92?
No one is at the kiosk.
Leave on consent. P93, please.
PDD 21CU07, this is a conditional use in the name of Sierra Farms, Inc., Royal Auction Group for a public auction in a C2 General Commercial District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as included in your agenda packet from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Excellent. Anybody signed up via WebEx or is there an email? An objection? Anybody at the kiosk that wants to object to this item?
No one is at the kiosk.
Leave on consent. P94.
PDD 210020, this is Zephyr Egg Company Funding Agreement. It's an amendment to funding agreement between Pasco County and Zephyr Egg Company, a Florida corporation, for the construction of a portion of a 6.13 mile segment of State Road 56 from Meadow Point Boulevard to US 301, and we're recommending that you approve the funding agreement.
Anybody on WebEx? Any emails? Anybody at the kiosk to speak in objection to this item?
No one is at the kiosk.
Okay, leave on consent.
Mr. Chairman, just for purpose of the record, you were given a page which should be entered into the record for P94.
A page to be entered to the record.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's the one.
Cost estimates. Just want to make sure that that gets into the record.
Okay, so P94 for the record, Madam Clerk, we'll put that in the record. There are some corrections. All right, thank you, sir. P95.
P95, I believe there are some folks at the kiosk and on WebEx on this one.
Okay, so let's just confirm that. Okay, we're going to pull P95 as well. P96.
P96 is PW 21000005, Meadow Point Unit 3, paving assessment number 3424. It's $414,622, and the recommendation is approval.
Anybody on WebEx send an email in objection to this item?
On P96, no one on WebEx or email.
How about at the kiosk? Anybody there for P96?
No one is at the kiosk.
All right, leave on consent. And P97, please.
PW 210021, it's Covington Road East, paving assessment 3336. It's for $220,683, and the recommendation is approval.
Anybody on WebEx, emails?
No WebEx, no email for P97.
Anybody at the kiosk speaking of objection?
No one is at the kiosk.
All right, leave on consent. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus P91 and P95.
Chairman, I believe Commissioner Fitzgerald has a question about the interest rates on P96 and P97 that probably can be handled.
I think we can
before you
handle
take-
that without pulling it, if that's
Yes.
okay.
Right.
Okay. So, Mr. Caldwell, you come up. P96, P97, question from Commissioner Fitzpatrick is, what are the interest rates?
The interest, in the Caldwell Public Works, the interest rate that was noticed, that's in the notice, was at 5%. So we're required to carry that forward. There's been discussions about maybe with a lower interest rate at the time when the final rule is being presented to the board, we can request that the board make a determination if the board chooses to lower it.
I think the question really was, this morning we adopted an interest rate of
Right.
3.25. These are both showing at 5.
Because this was noticed when that changed.
Yes, these are noticed before,
Right.
but projects that are noticed after today will be at 3.25%.
So the board still has the option of lowering this interest rate at today's meeting or at the final roll, correct?
That's correct, sir. Yes,
And
correct.
it's staff's recommendation that it be done at the final roll?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner, does that answer your questions? You good? Okay,
Thank you.
you got it. All righty. I entertain a motion then.
Move approval of consent agenda?
I have a motion by Commissioner Mariano, second Commissioner Oakley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. Let's go back to P91, Ms. Hernandez.
Okay, is it okay, could we do P98?
I'm
There's
fine with
actually
that.
no one here to object on the item, only the applicants are there at the kiosk today.
On P what?
98.
Okay, so there was nobody there that's actually an
No
objection.
one here to object, only the applicants are standing at the kiosk at the moment, and we have no one on WebEx.
Okay, so well, we can do P98. So since we're going to do P98 though, because that was not part of the consent, I do have a question on P98.
Sure.
But why don't you go ahead and
Perfect.
read it out, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Did we do the
Did
proof?
I did the proof already for P.
Thank you so much. PDD 217501. This is a zoning amendment in the name of Charles Gilbert Tucker for a change in zoning from R1 Rural Density Residential District to an AR1 Agricultural Residential District. And this comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and the Planning and Development Department. And as I stated, the applicants are at the kiosk, but I'm here to answer any questions on the item.
Great. So I do have a question, and I didn't know we were going to get to that now. So
sorry.
that's no, you're fine. Just give me 1 second, then. We need to get to that item. So at the Planning Commission, I know there were some objections. I guess they're not here today. One of the planning commissioners, because of some of the objections and the concerns of the citizens, had brought up the possibility of a deed restriction to only allow pine trees to be built on that property, if I'm not correct. Do I have that correct?
That's
Hernandez?
accurate. I
Okay.
think it was pine and orange trees as well.
Okay, and I guess limited orange trees, if that's
Limited,
correct.
yes.
Okay, because they had some concerns about the possibility of it being a full-blown ag operation within a residential area, i.e. fears that there could be maybe chicken farms. I'm using that as an example because that was an example brought up there, if I'm not correct.
Understand.
High, I guess, use ag operation, when my understanding is, and from reviewing the Planning Commission notes and videos, that that's not the intent of the use of this property, correct?
That's correct, based on what the applicants have stated and provided, yes.
Okay. So just kind of, really kind of on behalf of the citizens, let me back up a little bit more. It seemed to me during the Planning Commission meeting that I guess amendment or the deed restriction that was suggested, I think it maybe just kind of people weren't getting it on the Planning Commission maybe until later. They possibly realized that I might have just kind of that's the feel I got. So feeling I got, maybe they didn't realize what it was being asked possibly. And
Right. So I think that the question, and I'm sure David Goldstein is on as well, but I believe the question that was asked is, could they plant pines or could they plant orange trees under their current zoning? And the answer to that was yes, they could plant it under their current zoning. And again, the applicant is here, so I don't want to speak for the applicant, but my understanding for the applicant is that one of the applicant's children is doing 4-H programs, and that his desire is to obtain an agricultural exemption over the property, and he can only do it if it's zoned agriculturally. And currently it's zoned as a rural density residential district.
But the applicant was okay with having that deed restriction at the Planning Commission meeting.
Let's ask the applicant, but I believe, yes, that the applicant was okay.
Let's go ahead to the applicant, and if you don't mind coming on board, and if you could answer that question.
Yes, sir. My name is Charles Tucker.
Hi.
Hi.
So I guess the question was that at the Planning Commission meeting, one of the planning commissioners had mentioned some of the concerns of the residents, thinking it could be possibly a full-blown ag operation, where in sense it's not an intense use, I guess you could say, but your intentions are probably like pine trees, maybe some citrus trees, things like that.
Right. I don't have the land for starters to do any kind of commercial there whatsoever. about land permitting to do anything like that. With this deed restriction and talking with the county attorney stepped in during that planning commission meeting, and with such a deed restriction like that there, if when I plant pine trees and I had some citrus trees there and you say that I agreed to a deed restriction of no citrus trees or whatever, or I couldn't sell no citrus from there, if I sold one pine tree, which there's nothing wrong with selling the pine trees, I would be against that deed restriction that I'm agreeing to, and I couldn't sell the pine tree either.
I see what you're saying. Yes, sir. I understand what you're saying. Okay. Okay.
Attorney saying that wouldn't work, and that's when I think a motion was filed for them to go ahead and vote and send it to y'all on the just a whole under AR1.
Yeah. Okay. David, can you? Thank you, sir. Stay with me 1 second. David, do you mind jumping on real quick?
I think he agreed to pine trees and other non-commercial farming operations. That's what he agreed to at planning commission.
Okay. So that wouldn't have any negative impact for what he was looking to do?
I don't believe so based on the description of what he wanted to do. He wanted to do pine tree, he wanted to sell pine trees, and he also wants to do other non-commercial farming. Is that right? I'm asking the applicant.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Also keep in mind, by the time the pine trees are big enough to be sold for anything paper even, as we're talking 30, 40 years down the road.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I understand.
So I think the applicant was willing to agree to a restriction that it would only be pine trees and other non-commercial farming, but the planning commission member who made the motion did not include that as part of his motion. That was the confusion of planning commission.
City, are you still there? We lost audio with you.
Yeah, I'm still here. Oh.
I think we lost audio with the boardroom.
Yeah, not sure what happened there.
Sir, while we're waiting, did I accurately state what you agreed to? It's pine trees and other non-commercial farming?
Right, yes, sir.
Oh, okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
And if I could, I'd like to elaborate just a little bit on my knowledge of and information on protecting our water and our wetlands that, you know.
So sir, you probably should wait till we get the boardroom back online. So just hold tight for a minute, okay?
Yes, sir.
I know. See what happens.
Okay, you're back.
All right, we're back. Thank you. David, can you hear me okay now, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, beautiful. All right. Sorry, everybody. We're back online now. Technology 101. David, go ahead.
So I don't know where we left off, but the applicant has confirmed while we were muted there for a second that he is in agreement with the deed restriction that would limit the property to pine trees and other non-commercial farming operations. But he wants to make a presentation to you on what he plans to do there.
Oh, yeah, we'd love to see it. Thank you, sir. Thanks, David.
No problem.
All right. Okay, sir. We'd love to see your presentation. Thank you. You can go ahead and start.
Right. Well, back in, we were in the citrus business for over 60 years. My grandfather and I'm a third generation citrus grower and all, there in Land O'Lakes and all. But back in '96, working with the USDA and University of Florida and the Extension Office, along with the Extension Office here in Pasco County, in order for presentation with working with the 1996 Farm Bill. This is a picture of our grove and my dad dealing by a lake, and we made a video. Unfortunately, it's back on VHS, so I have no way of showing you the video. But it was in connection with the Farm Bill of making buffers to keeping working between keeping the nutrients from the fertilizers and the herbicides and any spray pesticides like that were in the grove away from any natural resources of water and lakes and ponds. And we, in this picture and all like that there, you can see how we have a buffer zone around. On the backside is our grove back here, and you can see how much that we have between there and not allowing that to happen. So your concerns of mine, just to let you know of my information and knowledge of how important that is, I understand and do. And I practice that all the time. I have no desire to go back into the commercial business like we were then, but I do have this knowledge of keeping anything away from any water or wetlands. And that's pretty much everything that borders the backside of my property.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So, Oakley, Commissioner Oakley, you probably know a little bit about the citrus business, don't you, sir? Just a little bit, right?
Yeah,
great. Well, okay. So do we have any other questions for the applicant? It seems, so you're okay with what Mr. Goldstein said, you know, just to obviously make the neighborhood feel, you know, comfortable, that there's not going to be a high-end, you know, big commercial operation, ag operation. You're okay with those deed restrictions that Mr. Goldstein stated?
Yes.
You're right? Okay. Okay, great. Any other questions? Any questions, comments? Okay, so if the board's okay with it, I think the motion would need to add the deed restriction as David Goldstein stated, if you guys are okay with it, because the applicant's okay with it. So if somebody wants to make the motion.
Need public comments still?
Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Is there any, do we have anybody signed up yet? I mean, before, a second ago we didn't. Did anybody come on WebEx?
No, no one came on WebEx for P98.
Did anybody come to the kiosk in objection? Is there anybody there?
No one else is at the kiosk.
Okay, great. All right.
Mr. Chairman, move approval with the deed restriction of limiting pine trees and other non-commercial operations.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
So just for clarification, so the motion is contingent upon the approval is contingent upon the applicant recording a deed restriction and providing that to staff.
As David, what David stated, what they stated they agree on.
Yeah.
Correct.
And typically the zoning will not take effect until such time as that deed restriction is recorded with the county and provided to the Planning and Development Department, which is part of the typical deed restriction.
Okay. Everybody's good with that?
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. Thank you all. Have a great day. Okay.
We're not done. You got P91.
No, I'm not saying have a great day as in we're leaving.
Oh, okay.
I was telling the applicant and his family to have a great day as they walked. Okay. Oh, is that Todd? That's so funny. Thank you, Todd. P91, that was pulled. So we'll have our presentation and then go to questions from the board and then public comment.
If I could please have the PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah, he thought I was ending it. That's funny.
Excellent. Jessica Coel, the Planning and Development Department. Thank you, Commissioners, Chairman. Proposed is a rezoning petition, petition number 7496, for a rezoning from AR Agricultural Residential District to MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District, for a maximum development of 162 single-family detached dwelling units on approximately 36.7 acres. Next slide. Presented here is the aerial showing the project's location within northwest Pasco County. Next slide. Here reflects the current zoning of the subject property and its surrounding area. Next slide. The current future land use for the subject site and the surrounding area is presented here. Next slide. This is the master plan associated with this MPUD that the applicant is proposing. Next slide. On August 4th, 2020, the Board of County Commissioners adopted a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, changing the future land use from Res 3 to Res 6. However, this development was capped at a maximum of 4.61 dwelling units per developable acre. The subject site is in the North Market area, outside of a rural area, outside of the urban expansion area or the service area, urban service area, and is currently unimproved. In accordance with LDC 303.6C, modifications to submittal requirements are allowed to be waived as approved by the development review manager or the designee, the county administrator or the designee of the code. The development review manager has agreed to waive an alternative standard submittal in conjunction with submittals for LDC 905.2.C.1.G, using existing non-invasive materials for use of perimeter buffers. Next slide. The Land Development Code 402.2C8 also allows for variations from this code when reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners at public hearing for an MPUD zoning amendment. These variations shall be allowed where the board finds, in this specific case, that the proposed variations meet or exceed the intent of the Land Development Code. The following variations are requested. From Land Development Code Section 901.6D11, the continuation of existing street patterns and street access to adjoining properties. The applicant is requesting to provide a vehicular interconnection to the east only. Currently, the property to the south is an unimproved right-of-way. There are no known deficiencies in the surrounding transportation network, and providing the interconnection to the south would not alleviate the existing transportation network of vehicular trips. As the adjacent parcels have already been developed, they gain access to the existing vehicular network. Next slide. Additionally, is requested relief or a variation from LDC 905.2.D5 perimeter landscape and buffering requirements. These requirements would actually be triggered by this rezoning approval. In accordance with table 905.2D in the Land Development Code, the use or the zoning district, whichever is more restrictive, would apply. These being agriculturally zoned parcels now, with the rezoning of the MPUD, this would trigger a landscape requirement to the east of this project. As the intensities are not greater by a large amount with the 3 dwelling units per developable acre in the surrounding area and the 4.61 approved with the large-scale comprehensive plan, staff does not feel that this is a requirement that would need a full 10-foot type A landscape buffer to be established upon the approval of this MPUD. The intent and purpose of the perimeter buffering and screening is to provide an aesthetically pleasing environment between the separation of uses and intensities. The applicant has agreed to establish a 2-foot wide area and propose erecting a 6-foot-high fence at time of site plan review in order to buffer any perceived intensity differences to the parcel to the east. This will not affect the other remaining landscape buffers that will be required on the west and the north of the parcel. Next slide. This item was heard at October 22nd, 2020 Planning Commission hearing and was heard on the consent agenda and comes to you with a recommendation of approval. It has been identified that this is consistent with our land development code and our comprehensive plan.
Thank you. So there was no objection at the Planning Commission?
No, sir.
Questions from the board before I go to public comment?
I'd like to hear.
Commissioner Mariano?
I'd like to hear from the public first.
Okay.
Myself.
All right. Everybody else? Okay. Okay. Great. So let's go to WebEx first. Was anybody on via WebEx?
Yes, for item P91, we have 3 individuals that are in the queue.
Okay. So the first person is?
Jenna Moran.
All right. Ms. Maureen, if you could state your name and address for the record, please. Ma'am, if you can hear us, you have 3 minutes, and we need your name and address for the record, please. Pardon me?
She is unmuted, but I don't
Okay.
know why we can't hear her.
Ma'am? Ma'am, if you would just check either your phone or your computer and see if you have muted yourself. Okay, let's go ahead and just put her on hold and go to the next person and see if she comes back.
Okay, the next person signed up on WebEx is April Wren.
Ms. Wren, can you hear us?
Yes,
Hi. Name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn.
I have been sworn, and my name is April Wren, and I live at 13102 Rose Terrace in Hudson.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, we're concerned about this project. I went around to some of my neighbors, and nobody received any kind of information from the county that this was going to happen or that this was going in. And I'm concerned about the impacts to the wildlife. We have a lot of gopher turtles, which are already endangered on that property. Also sandhill cranes, woodpeckers, owls. It's a nice piece of property, but it does have a lot of wildlife on it that we are very concerned about. I'm also concerned about being rezoned myself. I'm in agricultural zoning right now, and with this coming in, I'm concerned about it, and I hadn't had a chance to ask any questions. So that is one of my concerns. My family has had this property since 1969. And we are agricultural. I have chickens, I have a garden, I have a well. I can be totally self-sufficient on my little piece of property. So I want to keep it that way. And I also am concerned about, with this coming in, are we going to be made to move to city water and sewer? That is something that we also don't want. The traffic is something that I'm definitely concerned
Anything else,
about.
ma'am?
Oh, I'm also concerned about the
Next, please.
traffic.
She's still talking.
Oh, we have more people.
No, she's still talking. You can't
Next
hear her.
person who signed or who's on the WebEx is Pam Hill.
Hi, Ms. Hill. Name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn, please.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Ms. Hill. If you can hear us, name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn, please.
Can you hear me?
I see you're there.
Hello.
Bottom right, and Ms. Hill. Okay, now we have a connection issue.
Right. Can you hear me?
So, Todd, it says on our screen that we have a connection issue.
But that's on their end.
Yeah, I can't communicate with him.
I can hear you.
I can't control anything from here over there. Yes, ma'am, just one moment. We're trying to reestablish connection with the Dade City. One moment, ma'am. And Ms. Wren, if you're still on the line, we'll have them get back to you.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, can you guys hear us now?
Yeah, so Todd.
Okay, I don't know what's going on over there, sir.
Todd.
Yes, sir.
So we're getting feedback from your side on the microphone. Okay. So Miss Wren was cut off, so we need to bring her back on first and allow her to finish her comments.
Will do.
And then we can go on to the next person, and then we need to find out if the first person that was not on, if they were on and there was a connection issue, to give them the opportunity to speak.
Okay, Ms. Wren, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say to the board, I'm not opposed to change and I'm not opposed to growth. But I am worried about my community, and I do not want my community to turn into the next Dade Oaks neighborhood. And I'm being told that the county is using eminent domain as a reason to force some of the homeowners in my neighborhood into conforming to the county's plan. And I would just like to ask for a referendum to be put on the ballot so that the people in this neighborhood get to vote on this project and every other project that is going to affect us.
Okay, well, we can't do that, but there's, there's no, the county would not use eminent domain to take property to have it conform to a new type of development. That's not a possibility. So I'm not sure where that came from, but that's just so you know, to comfort you in that's not even something the county would do. Okay. Okay. I think we have Miss Hill. Miss Hill can be on the line. Name and address for the record, and if Miss Hill's been sworn, please.
Hello, I've been sworn. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm Pamela Hill. I live at 13024 Rose Terrace in Hudson. And I just learned about this yesterday. Someone came and knocked on my door and told me that this change was taking place and that Colony Road was going to be widened to 4 lanes and that they were going to change the zoning in our neighborhood. Now, the map that I saw, it didn't look like my street was involved with that rezoning. So I'm not exactly sure what the plan is.
Okay, so what we'll do, ma'am, we're taking your questions right now, and then we're going, after all the public comment, we will answer those. But I can tell you right now that we're not rezoning your neighborhood or as in your house, because you would have to be the one that would apply for that rezoning for your home. But we will answer all those questions after we get done with public comment. So I thank you for your comments. Now, we did have another person. Is she back?
She is back on.
Okay. Hi, Ms. Moran. If you could do your name and address for the record, if you've been sworn, please.
Yes, I have been. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Gina Moran, and I live at 13115 Rose Terrace, Hudson, Florida.
Okay. Please go ahead.
I have a lot of similar concerns as some of these other residents, and being that most of them, and I'm talking the neighborhoods directly related to and across the street from this property, a lot of these guys are multi-generational, been there forever, and they have no idea what's going on. None of them were aware of it. I did speak with Ms. Cowell in the developing department, And there are several names that are not on the list that was sent notices. And I'm working with her and the residents to make sure that moving forward, they will be told of what's going on. But a lot of these people don't really understand what's taking place, except that somebody's trying to move in and build big buildings and change these longstanding homesteads that they've had that are in a semi-rural area. And with that, yes, it brings change. And again, none of us are against any kind of change. We're multi-generational, fourth generation living on this property. We've seen lots of things happen, grow, get big, bring prosperity to our community. But we've also seen a lot of downsides with this too. And that's a lot of their concerns. We have some that have moved to this area because it's nice, it's beautiful, they don't have problems, they are comfortable where they are, they feel safe where they are. And I think some of the older generation feel that it might be a little bit infringed upon their normal lifestyles. And they plain out just don't understand what's happening and what's going on. And nobody's had enough time to research this. I know I've spoken to a handful of neighbors. They knew nothing, as well as I think Miss Hill is on there as well. She didn't find out until over the weekend. And that seems to be with a lot of them. Nobody has had time to research, to find out what's going on. They may not be so negative when somebody comes and says, we want to make things bigger and better and nicer for Pasco, when all these guys really see is somebody's coming in and they're going to dig up land and they're going to build buildings and they're going to make it bigger, and that frightens them. I mean, and there's so many other things that go along with it. With taxes, our property values have already plummeted over the last, I'd say 10 to 15 years. My house is not even worth half of what it was when my husband and I started our family 25 years ago. And that's a big concern, is what's going to happen when we bring more population in and they start changing these rural areas that these people specifically chose to live in.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. We appreciate your comments, and we're going to answer a lot of the questions that you and the other speakers had momentarily with staff and the applicant. Do we have anybody else that's on?
No, not anymore on WebEx or
Okay.
email.
Do we have any emails that need to be read into the record? Okay. Do we have anybody at the kiosk to speak to this item?
No one is at the kiosk.
No one's at the kiosk. Okay, so I guess we'll go to the applicant, or we want to go ahead and bring the team back up to answer some of the questions.
The applicant hasn't done a presentation yet. We wanna
Yeah,
bring
I don't
public
see them on here now. Do you see them on there?
So
Maybe on the far right.
They're on the far right.
Okay, all right, great. So yes, applicants or applicant's representative. If you'd like to speak now, please.
I'm here. This is Barbara Wilhite. Can you hear me?
Yes, Barbara. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Oh, there, my video came on. Hi, good afternoon, Commissioner. Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34652. Congratulations to our commissioners who have been re-sworn in, and our new commissioner, Fitzpatrick. So, this is our fifth public hearing on this item. The comp plan was adopted back in August and is effective. We noticed this matter each time separately for the comp plan and then for the MPUD. And so we've had notices out there for quite a while to answer that question. Everybody that's contacted my office has immediately got a call back from my client. We had one gentleman that showed up at the first planning commission that lived adjacent to the south, and his questions were answered, and he didn't attend any of the other meetings. So a little bit surprised by this because of all the conversation we've had. The board adopted a very specific comp plan, a very specific vision in August for this piece of property and for the density and for the use. So the comp plan, so all we're doing is bringing forward the zoning to be consistent with that. The Rose Terrace folks live probably maybe 2 to 3 blocks to the west. They are not adjacent to this parcel. Their property is not part of this rezoning application or the comp plan amendment. It only involves the parcel here that we're talking about, which is south of Fairwinds and east of Colony. We've had wildlife reviews. We did a listed species survey, and as well as staff always visits the site as well. We have a requirement in our conditions for a gopher tortoise survey and as well as a relocation permit and final action report. If we don't develop within 18 months, we also have to go back and do another listed species survey because those are good for 18 months. Traffic has been reviewed by our traffic engineer as well as your staff. I know our traffic engineer is on WebEx. If you have any specific questions, that's Mike Razor. I'm just going through some of the other things here. Gas Colony Road is on your plans as a vision road, and on your long-term transportation plans, we widened to 4 lanes. Plan on doing single-family homes, just like the single-family homes that are Rose Terrace. I understand those are single-family detached homes as well. Our homes will be in the 200-plus range. Most of the houses in the surrounding area, when I reviewed their property records, are under the 200,000 range. So when they do comps for their houses, they will have comparables on a square foot basis that are much higher than what they're seeing for their price per square foot. They're not proposing anything other than single-family homes, just like they have. There are no big buildings proposed. I do have no eminent domain proposed. I do have my rest of my team on board. I have my project engineer, Brent Stevenson, which is somewhere out there in WebEx land, and Mike Lawrence, if you have any other specific questions. But we have worked closely with staff on this over the whole year in setting the comp plan, the vision for the property, and then making sure the mpud conditions specifically match those requirements.
Okay. So Barbara, there's no, these are all single family detached. There's no apartments. There's no towns and no duplexes, all single family detached.
That's correct.
It's made me happier, no apartments. Question, Commissioner Mariani, did you have a question for the applicant or for staff?
No, I really wasn't a question, but I just want to hear from the residents. I mean, Rose Terrace is a couple of streets away. Right to the south of this property, there's a Res 6 property that's there that's probably developed close to Res 5, or probably 5 units per acre, so there's a little bit under that. There's no connection issue. I'm not crazy about the 2-foot area from the fence going across. I thought maybe that should be, could that be a little bit bigger, Barbara?
We actually did that to make, instead of having a berm or the like with plants on it, we wanted an actual visual screen. And so that's why we put the fence up. I don't even think you're required to do a fence in that required buffer, but we wanted to do the visual screen. And to maintain that visual screen, we only need 2 feet. So there's no reason to really have more of a separation. Maintaining the specific fence that we've committed to along that adjacency.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Starkey.
Doesn't our land development code require landscaping in front of a fence?
If it were to require the type A landscape buffer, it would not require a fence, but it would require trees and shrubs planted in accordance with that type buffer. As I noted before, this property, if developed under the agricultural zoning district as it is now, would not require any landscape buffer. The trigger that would require that landscape buffer on the east is this mpud rezoning. Therefore, it would then require the type A buffer. But what the applicant is proposing is the visual screen to meet the separation intent of the land development code's buffering and screening section, rather than proposing the full 10-foot type A landscape perimeter buffer.
I understand that, but because I recall working on this ordinance and we don't allow fences without any kind of greenery in front of them.
I'm not familiar with that. The people in planning and development typically don't review the actual fences. I don't believe we permit fences. They're reviewed on our plans to be in compliance with the height restrictions. When we do review landscape plans, we do ensure that they are in front of fences, the landscaping, to protect that visual screening from the outside users.
So this is protecting, this is in the backyards of people's houses?
It would be to the rear.
So,
and it's to the rear of the properties that are already established to the eastern portion of this project.
This is going to be between the land and Barney Drive?
No, ma'am, it would be between the property boundary and the adjacent parcels that are west of that drive.
So this fence would be along Colony Drive? I'm confused.
Colony Road?
It would be on the opposite side of the project, on the eastern side of the project. Colony Road is on the western side of this project.
Yeah, so that is Barney Drive. Okay, so.
The project doesn't go straight to Barney, I'm sorry. There's a strip of
Here's lots between this project and Barney Drive that is not within this project.
I don't have that map, unfortunately. I am pretty sure our code requires that fences be buffered. And I'm not saying that it's a 9-foot buffer, but that I think it's every 20 feet or so requires a tree and then some shrubs. Is there no one here that?
The land
Barbara
development
might know. Am I missing something?
To my knowledge, the landscape section of the code does not require trees in front of all fences. It is only when the landscape perimeter buffer requires a fence that staff asks those plantings to be proposed in the front of the fence rather than in the inside portion of the fence.
Commissioner Starkey, I know my client has looked at this issue, and Mike Lawrence, if he can be recognized or brought up on WebEx, I know he would like to address this issue. I think is from the text he's sending. Mike Lawrence.
He's on. He just needs to unmute.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Commissioner Starkey, I've spent a lot of time with Terry and going through this whole project, specifically about the buffering. To the south of our property, the whole thing is going to be a lake. And so to the south, it's buffered by the lake, about 50 feet of roadway and, all sorts of things. To the west, there is the normal buffer that you normally see on our property on the west boundary. On the north boundary, which is up against Fairwoods Drive, it is a normal buffer. We did make a concession on a special kind of fence that Terry thought would be more beneficial to the area, and so we made that concession. However, to the east, the particular area that we're talking about there being just a fence, it's in a wooded area. The back of these properties are all they're tracts of land, and they have basically a forest in the backyard of their property. There are also trees along the eastern perimeter of our property. And so if we went in and put up anything other than just a fence, it would, first off, I would have to tear down trees to put trees. And I would have to widen a gap through this already forested area to have to do anything other than trees. The only people who are going to see this are the people who live back up to our property. And we've tried to do the least amount of tree removal as possible to implement a break from their property and ours. That was the purpose of just a fence.
Okay, and I'm fine with that, but did you say you're putting a fence along Fairwinds?
We might, yes, ma'am. It's not mandated, but the home builder may decide to do that.
Okay, because I believe if there's a fence along Fairwinds, you have to landscape on the street side of it. We're not allowed in our county to put up a fence without putting greenery in front of it.
And we do have plans to put up bushes and trees. We do have plans to do that. I'm not necessarily going to put a fence up along Fairwinds. If we do put up a fence, that particular fence design has been talked to us about by Terry to approve the kind of fence that he wanted. And so that's all been taken into great consideration all the way around.
Right, and I'm fine with this project, and I'm looking at it on Google Earth or whatever, and it looks like you may have people who are using your property as a four-wheel heaven.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Yeah, and I'm used to that, having been a landowner or a landowner. But I just wanted to be sure that we're not erasing the rules on the landscaping in front of a wall.
No, ma'am, not at all.
And I actually think this will enhance the neighborhood. And when I look over to my left to some of those neighborhoods, even on Lake Carl. I'm like, we need to get code enforcement in there because there's some things there that are there that I don't think are supposed to be there. So a little attention on this area might help folks who said that property values have gone down. Well, I see multiple, looks like multiple derelict vehicles and buildings sitting on residential property that probably aren't supposed to be there. So hopefully this will be help the whole neighborhood. So thank you very much. My questions are answered.
So Mike, I need you to, for the record, to just publicly state your name and what company you're from, because we couldn't hear that earlier.
I'm sorry, I'm Mike Lawrence. I am a partner in New Strategy Holdings, a company that is developing, it owns and is developing this property.
Okay, were you sworn in earlier, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Questions for the applicant? Commissioner Mariana, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I'm happy with what I've heard for discussion today as far as the fence. Those lots along Barney Drive to the back of it is a wooded area. It's hard to see it from the aerial, but I appreciate the clarification. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, so a motion a second. Can we just, there was a few questions just for the residents' sake that I wanted to have answered because they had mentioned about rezoning their properties, and we want to make sure for the record that they understand this is not what's going on here.
Did you want to address them one by one? I remember.
Yes,
several.
if you could.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know one of the issues is that this project would trigger rezonings of other parcels in the surrounding area. That is not correct. This rezoning petition is only for the 4 parcels that Mr. Lawrence has mentioned that he is in ownership of with his corporation. It would not affect any other use or zoning of the adjacent parcels. I know there were some concerns about the protected species on site. All protected species will be addressed at time of site plan review. As Ms. Wilhite mentioned, they have already done their preliminary due diligence on the site to reach this stage in the development in this petition. And that will subsequently be taken care of in conjunction with our Natural Resources Department and our Florida Fish and Wildlife interlocal agreements with them. Other than that, the utilities issue, no one will be forcing anybody to move on to any Pasco County utilities. Although I do believe that this project will bring utilities in line to allow some of the residents to connect if they chose to in the future. I don't know if I'm missing other questions.
I think those were the main 3, if I'm not correct,
So,
everybody.
if I can get staff to clarify, Rose Terrace appears to me to be more outside the area that you would be required to notice anyway. Is that correct?
Without doing a measurement, I cannot confirm that. I did do a preliminary search when these issues first arose. I did not have any addresses from the people who raised the concern, so I could verify if their address was or was not on the public noticing information that was given. However, barring that I was not presented with information, I have no way to verify that that was done incorrectly. All the information that the applicants represented provided us seemed completely in compliance with our procedure section of 300.
Denise?
Sorry about that. If I can add to that, Denise, says the notice requirements for Res 6 would be 500 feet from the project boundary. So if Rose Terrace is away from, is outside of 500 feet from the project boundary, then they would not have been noticed.
Terry? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rose Terrace is over 900 feet from the project area.
That's sufficient, Mr. Steinschneider?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, I have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we still have one more, folks. That was pulled. That was 95, if I'm not correct. That was P90. Pardon me?
That is correct.
Yeah, P95. Okay, great. So, Mr. Caldwell.
Yes, sir. Enzo Caldwell, Public Works. I have a PowerPoint. Next slide, please. This is item number PW21-004, Coolwood Drive and Kyle Drive, US number 3315. There are 2 streets involved with this project, county maintained, unpaved. The estimated cost for the project is just about $263,500. Maximum cost per ERU is $8,623. The discounted amount is $65,884, and the maximum cost per ERU after the discount is $6,467. Next slide, please. In terms of the number of votes, there are 48 possible votes. We got 30 responses, which is about 63%. In terms of the yes votes, we had 18, which represents 60% of the votes in favor, and 12, which is 40% of the votes which were against. The annual installation is over a 10-year period. The interest rate, as noticed, was 5%, but we'll bring it back when we bring back. If this is approved, then we bring it back to the board for the final roll. We'll request 3.25%. Next, please. This is the location map. Fort King is the extreme on the left. Next slide, please. Yes. Just two photographs of the existing road condition. These are unpaved road. Next, please. And that's it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions before I go to public comment? Commissioner Mariano.
Just because we're pulling it, we're having a separate discussion on it, what would keep us from just making that 3.25 motion?
I think we go back to the last statement he made before it was their wish to, when we bring it back, to go to the 3.25.
That's correct.
I understand what you said, but we wouldn't stay consistent.
Okay.
Probably best.
Yeah.
Make sure it's noted, and I'm sure your office will make sure Commissioner Mariano knows when that's going to come back.
Sure.
Ahead of time, so he can be. Let's go ahead and go to public comment. WebEx?
We have one person, Amy Bennett, is in WebEx.
Okay. Hi, Ms. Bennett. Name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn, please.
I have not been sworn that I know of. I signed up for WebEx. That was it.
Okay. That's okay. So do your name and address for me first, and then we'll have you sworn in.
My name is Amy Bennett. My address is 37118 Winton Drive, Zephyr Hills, Florida, 33541.
Okay. And if you just raise your right hand, the clerk's going to swear you in.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. And you may begin your comments.
Okay. This was all pushed along very fastly. My main concerns are, the first one is, yes, I've been speaking back and forth with Mr. Caldwell. 30 were received back. However, there were misdeliveries, and 18 people was not confirmed that they even received the mailings, because the certified copies weren't even, the little papers weren't even mailed back to the office. So I wanted to go door to door, but with the COVID, I don't know my neighbors all around here, so I didn't. But my issue is, I believe that a lot of people didn't get the original ballots, first off. I know that's been a lot of opposition for that to happen around here. My other main concern is, my road is Winton Drive, and the section of Coolwood that I'm getting assessed for is actually like about a little bit above, more than 20 feet below my property line. It's like I have a cliff. Like, I have never had access to it. We've been here since '83. Never had access to it. I use Winton Drive, which leads directly to Fort King. I have no access, and I don't think it's also fair, besides the weirdness of not getting their petitions. I also don't agree with me having to pay for a road that's literally inaccessible to me. My property's on a hill, and it's a big cliff going down. So those are, at this point, I only get 3 minutes, but I guess that's all I get for now. I haven't had time to do research. I was looking for old county commissioners meetings, but they only go back to '83, I guess, unless I can go into the archives from '78, such like that, from when the property next door was bought, because sometime around there, when Mr. Cossack sold all this area into parcels a long time ago, what I've heard from my neighbor who's been here since the mid-'70s said there was a meeting that the county commissioners got together and said if the roads were ever paved, then they would pay for it, the county would. So I haven't had time to have research. I haven't had time to do a lot. And I think that the original petition was mismailed. People didn't get it. Thus, when we had the first PBAS meeting on, I think it was October 21st, and we're only like a couple attendees there. and yeah, it gets more elaborate. I forwarded the emails to you, but I just don't think it's fair.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And now we have nobody else on WebEx, but we have 6 people at the kiosk. Do we have any emails?
No emails for our P95.
Okay, so if we could bring up the kiosk. And while we're bringing those people up, I just have a question
Yes,
for
sir.
you. So the last speaker mentioned that she does not have access to that road.
She has access, there's secondary access to Coolwood. So she's on Winton, and her property extends from Winton to Coolwood. So it's secondary access.
Can you pull the map up and show us? I mean, I bring this up because there's been instances in the past where we've had residents that do not have access. They don't use that access. That we do not use that road.
Yeah. That might be.
You know, and if they're not going to use that road, I do have some questions.
So the ordinance requires if you have secondary access, you'll be assessed at 50%. If there's a deed restriction on you're not using the access.
Show me if we could where her home is. She's on Winton.
Winton run north-south. You see the pink parcels to the right of the road, Coolwood. That straight line going north-south. Of the pink parcels to the north part, the top of the map, that's Winton.
Okay. So I'm gonna.
Want me to go for it? I can maybe.
Yeah. So can I make? I'm just gonna make an assumption, and I know Commissioner Oakley knows this area very well. I'm gonna make an assumption that she's going to go out on Fort King to go where she's going on a daily basis.
This one. Going north south. That's Winton.
Okay. So her access to Fort King, she would not need to take Coolwood Drive anywhere unless she's visiting a neighbor.
Fort King, she would come out of Winton, turn on Kissock, down Coolwood, along Kyle, and onto Fort King.
You're telling me there's no access from Winton Drive to Fort King?
From Winton Drive, there's no direct access there. You have to go circuitously to get there.
So Winton is a dead end?
Winton goes up and but on Kissock. You either turn right in Kissock and go, or you turn left, come down on Coolwood and go east and get to Fort King.
Okay. So Winton does not connect to Fort King?
That's correct.
So there's a blockade there or something?
I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, did they do the map wrong? Because that map is going right to Fort King, going across.
There's no right of way going through there.
There's no right of way going through, huh? So somehow it's blocked.
So Winton goes that way and also goes east-west and north-south? Or north?
Winton goes east-west.
Yeah.
Winton goes north-south. Kissock goes east-west.
So we're looking at the map right now, and it shows that it does have access to Fort King. It goes east-west, yeah.
It doesn't go through, sir.
So Google, can we do Google Earth? Can we do the satellite? Do you have the satellite on there?
Yeah, it's here. Yep.
Commissioner, I'm looking at the aerial, and
you look at the aerial?
Looks like to me that's a dirt road.
It does.
Winton is a private dirt road that does
so it
connect
connects.
Fort King from our GIS mapper. But again, it's hard to tell without being out there on the field and seeing what the actual access rates are from the various property owners.
Commissioner Oakley, do you know that road?
can't, I'm lost from this map myself.
Oh, that's trees.
You put that map back up?
That's just very strange. But there has to be something there. There's houses there.
Hey, Commissioner, I think the issue here is she's got secondary access to
Yeah.
cool wind.
She gets a lesser charge?
While,
Yes.
so she gets a lesser charge. It's
Yes.
already a 50%
Yeah.
assessment. If it was or if there was some kind of access restriction where she could not come in and get access to cool wind by building it,
Yeah.
then I think it would go to
That's
zero.
correct. Then she wouldn't have any.
Then it would go to zero. There'd be no assessment.
Right.
Even, I know it sounds like there's a grade issue out there, but you can overcome grade issues if you want to. So that's, I think, historically how we've done those secondary accesses is if there's some kind of restriction where they don't have legal access, then it would go to zero. But she still does have legal access
So
to that
she's
right away.
discounted, what, to 25% or 50%?
It's 50%. It's 50%.
50%.
And there's a church out there too?
No, there's the church. No.
There's not a church?
Not included in the assessment.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at a church that right next to Fort King, between Fort King and Coolwood Drive. It's right on the map. Doing an aerial view of it right now.
There's Kyle.
But there's property between it.
Fairview Heights is a dirt road.
Kyle. Yeah. Let's go ahead and move forward with public comment because I know we have people at the kiosk waiting. And if the first person could come up to the kiosk, and if we could put them on camera. There we go. Hi, sir. Name and address for the record and if you've been sworn.
My name is Daryl Durrett. I live at 37151 Kyle Drive. I have been sworn in.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I just have a couple concerns for the project. The Coolwood side, I don't think you guys are familiar with it, but there is quite the canopy of trees in there. Ms. Bennett is right. There is probably a 20-foot ditch it used to be an old railroad track. So it is probably a 20-foot ditch. The county does not take very good care of the wood line in there. There's probably 30 to 40 dead trees ready to fall now that they just don't cut out for whatever reason. I would like to know if this project, if they're going to take care of all that and get all that cleaned up. The water runoff is quite severe coming down the Kyle Road section of it. We've been there since '76, so I would like to make sure that they have taken all that into consideration because there's a lot of water that comes down that road. Those are my main two concerns. I am for the paving of the road. We've been there a long time. So.
Sir, what we'll do is we're going to take all the questions and concerns and at the end, we'll answer them all together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Whoever's next, please. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Name and address for the record.
I have been sworn in. My name is Clay Dorette. We bought the first house in that subdivision back 45 years ago. Well, we bought the land and built the house about 45 years ago. And at that time, we were told by the developer, who happens to be a county commissioner at the time, that the road would be paved within 2 years. This is, 45 years later, and we're still waiting for it to be paved. And I would like to commend y'all for moving forward on the project to get the road paved. And let's please proceed and get it paved because we've been paying taxes on that property for 45 years, and we've more than paid enough to pay for it several times. Plus the cost of maintenance alone, you could have paid for it 3 or 4 times. Okay, and I appreciate everything you do.
Oh, thank you, sir. Hey, I'm sorry, sir. Can I have your address too, please?
37151 Kyle Drive.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Right at the corner of Kyle and Cool Woods, right there.
Yes, sir.
Point. And I must say, over the period of years, I can remember when there would be holes 3 feet deep, 3 feet wide in my driveway going up to my property. So I would, so we poured a concrete slab 40 feet long so the water would not run down that way. And I would hope that once y'all finish, the road will be in better shape than it has been revert back to what it was 45 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay?
well, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Next, please. Hey, sir. How you doing?
Okay, great. My name is Larry Lewis. I live at 37339 Northside Drive, there in Zephyr Hills, Florida. And I was the petitioner that started this here project 3 years ago. I want you to know that at the county, they had to come in there and spend 6 months on Coolwood and Kyle, resurveying all them roads and stuff to bring them up to code. And I appreciate Mr. Ainsley and his team. I've talked to him personally about this project. And for the engineering department that came over there, they actually came out there and they told me that the way the road was wish-washy and across the road and everything, they was going to put these drop ditches in down Kyle to slow that water flow down to come off that hill. And plus, when it gets down to Coolwood, it wanted to cut straight across the road. And so they said that they would try to get this all fixed at one time when they do the blacktop job on the roads. And so I just wanted to come and let you know I appreciate that it's been 3 years in the process, and hopefully we can get these problems resolved.
Well, thank you, sir, for your comments. And sir, were you sworn earlier today? Were you sworn in when you came in?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We're going to have to swear you in
Oh.
real quick. And let's go ahead and if there's anybody else in that room that's speaking that hasn't been sworn in, if you don't mind just coming up to the camera.
She me in when I got here at 1:30, so I was kind of tired about thinking about it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
You're good.
Thank
All
you.
right, have a great one. That's funny. Sorry to thinking about it. I'm with you.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn, please.
I have been sworn, Jackie Clark, 37307 Hilltop Drive, Zephyr Hills, Florida, 33541.
All righty. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners, on behalf of our community on Kyle and Coolwood Drive, we are here, and there are several of us waiting, to show our support and favor of the paving project 3315 in Zephyr Hills. It has been an ongoing request for the past 40 years of those of us who have lived on or near the adjoining roads. When Lowe's, Walmart, and the public shopping center came in to the area, the traffic more than tripled through our area. It was a cut through from 301 to Fort King, creating an abundance of dust, large potholes, unpassable terrain, with some driveways unable to even get to the roads in question. We are grateful to our neighbor Larry Lewis, who has been willing and relentlessly working for the past 3 years to get this project to you, the Pasco County Commissioners, for a favorable vote. And I ask at this time that you please allow us to have a safe and secure road by voting yes to PVAS 3315.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
I went to school, huh?
And I think we have some more people that are wanting to speak.
Somebody else coming.
Hi.
Hello, ma'am. Name and address, and if you've been sworn, please.
Yes, I have, and my address is 37321 Northside Drive in Zephyr Hills, and my name is Lou Hubble.
Hi,
And
ma'am.
I have lived on Northside Drive for 40 years, and actually we're landlocked to get to Coolwood and Kyle. So I have no choice but to travel those roads. And for 40 years I've done that, and I've eaten a lot of dust. And traveling. It's not funny, honey. I'm telling you. But anyway, I am so in favor of getting our roads paved. And I believe that our tax dollars after 40 years should help pay for some of it, and I'm willing to help pay for some of it too. Just let's get it done. We've been promised this for over 40 years, so I would like to, I'm very much in favor of it, and it would be so good for our environment and health reasons, and also keep your car. You can't keep your car clean. 5 minutes, you go on that road and you're eating dust and your car looks terrible. That's just a minor thing, but it's something that I think most people like a nice clean car. Anyway, thank you very much, and I want to thank Larry Lewis for getting this going and the hard work he's put in. And I wish you all a safe day, and thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Anybody else? Hi, sir. Name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn, please.
One, I see, is
Good
overpaid.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
Hi.
what you're talking about.
Thank you for this opportunity to address the commission. I'm Al Hubble. I've lived on Northside Drive off of Coolwood for 40 years. I only want to say I'm wholeheartedly in favor of this project. I think it's worthwhile and beneficial for everybody. Also appropriate. The county's been collecting taxes there for over 50 years. And actually, those two roads, especially Kyle, are a dusty washboard 99% of the time. I appreciate that you've already gotten a lot of time and energy invested in engineering and survey and preparatory work. So I would urge you to carry through and let's see this project to finish. And thank you.
Sir, hey, real quick question. You were sworn in, right, sir? Somebody, you were sworn in, sir? You did the swearing in earlier?
Sworn in.
I'm sorry?
He's asking if you're sworn in.
Yes, I was.
Okay, thank you, sir. Oh, he did his address. Oh, can you give me the full address? I heard his address.
Can you give him your full address?
My address, 37321 Northside Drive.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Do we have anybody else?
Have a good day.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much. All right, thanks for everybody that came out and spoke. So, Mr. Caldwell, so there was a few questions there, and I want to add one if that's okay, because this is just something I've thought about. This is just something I've thought about in the yeah, when I'm done.
Okay.
That's
I want to say something.
that's good. Give me one sec. There was another question I wanted to add to those questions. When people are paying for these roads and they do the PVAS, is there not a way for us to maybe stop through traffic from going through, or maybe putting up signs, no through traffic?
No.
I mean,
During the process, we always maintain the flow of traffic. So we may have only one lane open. Well, this is an unpaved road, but we'd have one lane open so that there's always flow.
I get. Okay, let me back up. So, since these are private roads,
These are not private
or
roads.
no, sorry, sorry, I understand. But they're maintained, but they're paying for the paving. Some concerns I've heard in the past are, obviously the trucks that are coming through and the semis that are cutting through, or any type of
I cut through.
constant traffic.
He cuts through.
I cut through.
Oh, you cut through. Oh, okay.
I'll explain.
Are there instances where we've maybe put up like no through traffic signs or no trucks or anything like that?
I would have to check with the
less
traffic-
wear and tear
the
on
traffic
some of these roads that the
departments.
residents are paying for?
I'll check with the traffic department. I'm not familiar with the requirements of installing that sign.
Okay. I just, I get concerned when we have some of these residents that are sitting there paying for these roads themselves, and then we have people cutting through on a constant basis. I see it where I live, and I pay through a CDD. I pay for my road. The county doesn't spend one dime on it. Like when I say one dime, not one penny on it. We pay 100% to maintain those roads, and there's always traffic cutting through. I don't think there should be, but that's my opinion. Commissioner Oakley?
So you see the map how it is and the north end of the, where it's don't be paved to?
Yep.
That's the start of Cossack Road.
Okay.
It goes to the east to 301.
Uh-huh.
And it's a cut through from Fort King over to 301 to where the shopping center is, Walmart, Lowe's, everything's over there, the Publix. And this being paved is great. But eventually you see Cossack Road is this one on the north side of this project.
Yep.
That comes from Overpass Road. When it comes through Watergrass, crosses Handcart onto Fairview Heights, and eventually cuts across and connects to this road. Now, I'd love to see that done right away.
Arterial.
Yes.
So, but that's what's happening in the future. That's going to connect to this road.
The Cossack.
But it is a cut through, and a lot of people use it.
So that's why I asked this, and this is just not on this project, but additional projects as well.
Wow.
You know, if we as a county are not, you know, obviously we're let's just be honest, we're not really maintaining. We're filling potholes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're not resurfacing the roads. We're not repaving the roads. But you know, we're actually how we're developing what Commissioner Oakley just stated. We're actually, in a sense, driving more traffic through there by the development in the connectors. And you said that's Commissioner Starkey just mentioned it's going to be an arterial road. So now we're actually pushing more traffic through there. I mean, you know, I mean, and this is, Ainsley, I'm not asking you to answer this question by any means, because this is a policy decision.
Yeah.
But
Mr. Chairman, there is a question that Ainsley can answer, and I thought that there was part of the methodology that you, when you did your assessment, that if it was a cut-through road, the county paid more of that percentage.
Yes. And the challenge is this, in terms of the ordinance, it says a road that functions as a cut-through. And the problem here is that we have 3 roads. We have Kyle, Coolwood, and Cossack that function as the cut-through. So it's not just one road connecting these 2 arterials, but 3 roads.
Okay.
So that is where the technicality in the ordinance comes about.
But is that not a technicality that, okay, we're calling it a technicality, but there's nothing we can do about that. Like Mr. Steinschreier just stated, you know, if we're going to force traffic, you know, by what we're allowing to happen when it comes, i.e. development or additional roads and connections, I just hate to put a larger burden on the residents that are actually making this investment themselves when they're obviously not the only ones that are driving on the road. I mean, I'm supportive. I want to see this paved, but I just don't feel that if we're going to be allowing and approving certain development, that they should have to burden so much of the cost. That's
Well, you
my
got to
opinion.
realize this is not a subdivision within boundaries and all, like your subdivision, and you pay for your road and all.
Yeah.
This is actually in a rural area where we're starting to build up on the other
Right.
side of it. And these roads have been terrible.
Sure.
They need to have been paved a long time ago, like a lot of roads in these past.
Sure, we're all in agreement with that.
This is going to be a great help, but there's still a section on Cossack. When you go down and turn on Cossack from there to where it goes to the backside of Lowe's from 301, it's still dirt and it's still a terrible road. So,
Yeah. But, I mean, does anybody else understand when I'm going and where I'm getting at?
A gate at one of the entrances, so people can't cut through.
Well,
Indirectly.
yeah.
I mean, this is the way traffic flows in that area.
But I agree, and I get it. But again, now what you just stated a second ago, there's going to be additional traffic that's going to be going through there.
But we have a lot of roads like this
Yeah.
in East Pasco.
Yeah.
That are cut through from Fort King over to 301, several
Right.
of them down through there that are cut throughs.
I know.
They're dirt just like this has been, and stay washed out and problems. We
Yeah.
actually spend a lot of money keeping up those dirt roads.
Right.
And
Yeah. Well, I'm in agreement. They need to be paved. I'm with you. I just have a concern that, and then like you just stated, we're going to see more of that. And if we're going to allow, again, additional roads and development to put more traffic on those roads for those residents.
But the traffic's there.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see more traffic. I mean, this will be better, but you still got part of that road that's going to be terrible that's going across there to 301. Certain people still won't travel that road. But for the people that live in that area, it's going to be a great thing to have that paved.
No, again, there's no disagreement on that. I agree.
Right, but
100%.
we're putting,
Yeah.
sorry, but
Commissioner,
we're
yes, go
putting we're putting the cost to that community when everyone in the community is using it.
And some of that's paid by the county.
People
also.
outside the community as well. Yeah, you're right. Both. Yeah.
I
So
don't
what's
know- I
what's
don't-
the?
I mean,
You
I
said
don't-
there's a county. So what? How much is the county contributing to
Contribution.
this? Pardon me?
The county's contribution,
Yes, correct.
65,000, about $66,000.
And that's what's the percentage?
It's 10% over $1,000. Well, the formula is 10% over 1,000, so it's less than 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Can you pull that slide back up, please?
Which slide?
The one with the breakdown of all the fees. Is that the beginning?
The color, the assessment one, that one.
Yeah, before that.
When Overpass
Or
Road
it's
or
more-
comes across there,
Uh-huh.
you will find nobody except for those residents on this road
Uh-huh.
will probably be using that road.
You're saying
Because
when,
this other one's going to be
yeah.
a straight shot across there.
okay, so your feeling is once overpass is done, there'll be less people cutting through.
Less people on this
Okay.
part of the road.
That's
Yeah.
a positive.
So 200.
Actually, it's about 1/5.
And a half, 60.
Well, Commissioner
Approximately
Fitzpatrick is reviewing that. Did you, I know we talked about when it comes back, we could bring their interest rate down to what we said, was it 3 points or 3.5?
3.25.
What?
3.25.
Okay.
What was approved this morning?
3.25.
3.25. Okay. Did you, do we have did you do those numbers? Did you formulate that? What the difference would be?
I can run the numbers.
2.5, was it 2 points? This is at 5 or 5.5?
That's the interest
This is
rate
5%.
on.
I'm sorry, that's what,
This
5
is
or 5?
5%.
This is 5, okay. So it'll bring it, when you bring it back, it'll bring it down a little bit.
We're
Mr. Chairman?
paying about,
Commissioner Mayor?
Just one thought. To the lady that says she doesn't have the connection from Witten going across, and from what I could see on the aerial shot you showed, that road goes east to west going across.
Which that, Winton or Kissock?
Winton.
Yes, sir. It goes
The lady
north
lives
south.
at the first lady that talked.
Yes, sir.
She says she has a tough time making that connection. So if there is an access issue, we can't make that road smooth enough to use, then I think she should be pulled out of it because she can't get to that road.
So, Commissioner, let me help Ansley out. If it is an impossibility for her to use this, she can come back and petition
Yeah.
the staff, because at this point, they've been disclosed their maximum assessment. Anything that comes out of the assessment at this point is going to be the county's share.
Right.
Unless we start all over again, which nobody wants to do.
No, we don't do that.
So, but if she physically can't make a connection and it meets the ordinance criteria, staff can make that adjustment and bring it back to you. That,
All right, good.
that's nothing that you have to do here.
All right, I just want to make sure that it gets done. So, good. Thank you.
That's what I.
Mr. Caldwell, could you answer the other questions? There was the concerns about the trees and being cut down, and there was a concern.
So
about the drainage.
in terms of the trees, only trees that are necessary, and all the trees will not be removed. So it's not all the trees we're planning to remove. In terms of the drainage, because it's an unpaved road, we had to go through the process of getting a SwiftMud Southwest Florida Water Management District exemption. We have got that, and this is why the project is at this point.
Okay.
Also, someone mentioned.
Can I stop you? You said there will be drainage improvements.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that
Yes, sir.
answers this question then. Okay.
There were swales, it's been started.
Okay.
Okay. In terms of the notification, we're required to send certified letters with return receipt. We get our information from the property appraisers, listing, and we have done the notification. We have gotten the returns. A couple were undelivered, and we have done the requirements as per the ordinance. And I think that's.
I think
all
that answered the
questions.
questions. Anything else? Anything else?
Need to make a motion.
Entertain a motion?
Yep, I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That does it for it. Thank you all.
Yeah, I guess so, because they're on mute.